Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Well, friends, if you've been here before, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use one tarot system to help me unpack a central message from a spread that I read earlier in the week. And I'm in the middle of my year-long deep dive into the Lenormand system. Yeah, the system that was begun in Germany under the name, translated into English as the Game of Hope, and then moved into France and was given the name of Lenormand. And so I'm in the middle of my deep dive into that system, and it is a wonderful, wonderful system, and I hope you're joining me on that journey. It's enlightening, to say the least. And so I've laid that spread, and it was a doozy. It really was a doozy. And so I highly recommend that you watch that video first, and then come on over here and watch this one, because this spread is in reaction to that one. And maybe the weight of this video's spread will not be as poignant without seeing the reading of that Lenormand spread. So I recommend watching that first, and you don't have to watch it in one sitting. You can always watch it in bits and pieces. There's no YouTube police that's out there going to track you down and catch you and say, you have not watched the video in one sitting, you're a bad watcher, right? So be comfortable, watch in bits and pieces, and then come back and watch this. And just in case you have, so I'll put a card up here so that you can hop on over and do that if you have not watched it already. Just in case you have hopped on over and watched that already, and you did watch it in bits and pieces, and you'd like a refresher of what was this thing all about? What's it all about, Alfie? Now, the title of that spread was The Burden of Virtue. And as we read through that spread, it seemed really clear to me that we are going to feel a sense of heaviness and weight and discomfort in our going down to our personal private spaces. And that weight that we're going to be feeling may be coming from external sources that are way beyond our control. They might be the larger socio-political, economic environment that we are currently living in. And so we were given the advice to be strong, to be loyal to our friends, to allow our friends to be loyal and supportive of us, and to recognize that our maturity and our virtue is going to be what helps us dispel the ambiguity and the uncertainties and the confusion of the times. Yeah, does that make sense? Is that what you remember? Well, that's what I saw. So friends, I've got a spread laid out for us. And before we get to that spread, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for watching, certainly. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing. All of those things that you do stimulate YouTube to show the videos and the channel to people who might not otherwise find us. And because of those things that you do, you help increase our community here. And so thank you for doing that. And thank you for commenting in wherever you find the comments on your device, on the side or below. Thank you for doing that, because that also stimulates YouTube to spread the videos and the channel to other people. And our community is growing steadily, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you. And at the end of this video, if you want a private reading from me, there will be a QR code and my web address for my online tarot shop. So if you want to go hop on over and take a look at that and order a reading for yourself, for a friend, as a gift, whatever. I've got several offerings up there. So get on over there and take a look. Thank you. And so, friends, right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the spread that I got laid out. I will tell you what the cards are, and it's a really interesting one. A really interesting group pairing of decks, I think. And then we'll break the spread down into its two major components and read that spread together. Are you all ready? So, friends, here is this week's spread. So, friends, what do you think? Do you know these decks? One of them you may know. One of them has been around for a while, although it's not all that easy to track down. Now, the tarot deck is what I'm talking about. The three cards you saw on top, just in case you are new to tarot, the three cards you saw on the top were from a tarot deck. Very non-traditional tarot deck. It's called the Hayworth Tarot. It's a deck that I've been waiting for the right time to use, and it really seemed like this was the right time to use this deck. The images are disturbing. Fortunately for us, I believe. Okay, so a lot of people find the images in this deck to be extremely disturbing, especially some cards have blackened holes where eyes should be, and some people find that very disturbing. Now, you did notice intestines in two of these cards, so that can be disturbing a little bit. But some people find other elements of the deck more disturbing than seeing intestines. Yeah, I'm just saying. So it is a disturbing deck, but it's also symbol rich, and it entices one. It stimulates thought, if you allow it to. And so I think it's a wonderful deck. Just in case you want to know, this is what the back of the deck, the cards look like. The backs look like this. One thing I'm not all that happy with is the cardstock, I just gotta say. Mine came warped, and I have not been able to unwarp it yet. The cards they tend to hold a shape, if that makes sense. They don't flip back to, like, you bend it a little bit and it will hold that bent shape. It doesn't flip back very readily. Yeah? So, just something to know. The cardstock, not my favorite, but I love the deck. I love the deck. So those three cards are on top, and they are in a positional spread. They are significance, challenge, advice. So the significance is, what is the significant answer to the question of what is the central message of this week's Lenormand Spread? That is the King of Wands. Okay, we're going to read that. The central card is a challenge, what could stand in our way, or something we might want to strive for, to try to attain a positive challenge. And then the third card is advice. Okay, so those were the three cards on top. Now the three cards below, they are from an oracle deck. The oracle deck is called the 1111 Oracle. So it's based on the repeated numbers paradigm, I guess, where people see repeated numbers and see that as a message from spirit telling them stuff. Yeah, so this oracle deck is based on that, but I thought that there's the theme of the oracle deck and the tarot decks, they do not match at all, but the kind of artwork does kind of resonate to me. the kind of watercolory line work kind of. I don't know how to describe the artwork, but it seems to it felt like it resonated with the Hayworth Tarot. So I pulled this one out, and it's a round deck, and you can see that you saw that there were messages around the entire circle of each one of the cards, right? So the round deck, when you shuffle it, the cards will shift around like this, right? So depending on how the card lands, if the left side is up, if the right side is up, if the top is up, if the bottom is up, there are 4 different messages on each one of the cards. So the cards really do help us read it in a circular fashion. And so we'll get into how we're going to read those cards a little later in the video when we actually look at them separately. But those are an oracle deck, and these cards will help modify or give information to the cards above them. Yeah, so each one of the cards will interact with each other, and they will interact with the cards above. So that's how we're going to read the spread. We'll read the 3 cards above, the tarot cards. Then we'll read the 3 cards below as they modify each one of the tarot cards, and then we'll read the 3 cards below as they interact with each other. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that's what we're going to do. So friends, let's start off with the 3 tarot cards. Let me show them to you once more so you get a refresher, and let's read them together. Here they are. Friends, you saw from left to right, we had the King of Wands, the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Wands, right? All court cards. All court cards. And I'm telling you, the deck was well shuffled. I looked at the next card that might have come up just to be sure, and it was an entirely different kind of card. So these 3 cards coming up together that's pretty significant. Yeah, all court cards, all male court cards, all what? 2 knights and 1 king. Yeah. Very interesting. Now, I'm not saying that when I said all male court cards, I'm not trying to indicate that this reading is only for boys. Not in the slightest. Remember, it doesn't matter whether you are in a male body, in a female body, in an intersex body, in a cis body, in a trans body. It does not matter. We all have all aspects within ourselves. And we make use of some more often than others, but we have the potential access to all qualities of human experience. The masculine, the feminine, the non-binary, all of that. So we are all kings, we're all queens, we're all knights, we're all pages. We have all of that in us. Yeah, from the day we were born to the day we decide to leave these beautiful bodies that we are co-creating. We have all of that within us. So, we're looking at our more active side, our more active side of our more going out there and doing stuff sides of our personalities in this coming week, which is interesting because the reading that we got from the Lenormand Spread for this week is a burdened feeling, right? There were a bunch of kings and jacks that showed up in the spread. Yeah, we had the King of Hearts for the house. We had the King of Spades for the lily. We had the Jack of Spades for the whip. So we had a bunch of kings and we had some kings and jacks in the spread, which would kind of align with the king and knight of knights in the tarot. But this spread of just being the knight, the king and 2 knights is, I think this is saying, look at that. Yeah, look at our masculine aspects, our active aspects, our going out there and getting and doing aspects of self. Not saying that the other aspects are not equally important. Just that this week, these are aspects that might be beneficial for us. And so the significant thing for, look at this card, wow, is the King of Wands. Yeah, it looks like this guy is breathing out smoke, right? And is holding a huge match that has been extinguished. Yeah? It's like there's this match in front of him. That's what I see here, is a match. It's a wand, but it looks like a match. And it looks like he has taken in the fire of the match and is now extinguished. It's exhaling the smoke from the fire that's burning within him. Maybe. And who is the King of Wands? The King of Wands is a natural born leader, right? Charismatic, has the fire in his belly, but is not controlled by the fire in his belly, has control of and uses that fire in his belly to lead, to be charismatic, to move towards long-term success, right? To be noble and honest. Remember, our virtue and our morality were a significant point in the Lenormand Spread, right? So our virtue, our noble hearts, our honesty are significant here. Our authority, our sense of personal authority, and our ability to lead and to have a grand vision. Not like not like the King of Swords, which is all seeing and planning and figuring it out. It's to have a grand vision of what we want to do and where we want, the direction we want to go in, how we want to lead ourselves and our people. Yeah? How do we achieve our long-term success? And how do we lead our people? How do we inspire our people, like Henry V inspired an army? Yeah? How do we do that? That's what we want to do. We want to be the ones who inspire, who lead, who are noble of heart and virtuous and passionate and finding our natural born leader within. And that's the way that we can navigate this time of feeling weighted within our safe places, within our place of stability. We feel this weight, we feel this burden. And how do we navigate that, and how do we move around and through that is with our inner leadership and our passion. Right? So this coming as the significator card, this is giving us, well, so what do we do? This is what we do. We find this within ourselves. And what is the challenge? The challenge is the Knight of Cups. And here you see that the Knight is holding a cup of, and I'm going to say his, we're going to keep the hisness of these cards for now, but remember, these hises are all for uses who are in whatever body you're in, a male body, a female body, a cis body, a trans body, an intersex body, doesn't matter. You are all hises, you're all herses, you're all themses. Yeah? So, this Knight of Cups has his guts in his cup, right? And he's holding the cup in front of him. Yes? It's like offering, these are my guts. My gut feelings, this is my viscera, and I'm offering my viscera to you. That's what I see in this cup, in this card. It's that giving of the deepest internal part of self. More visceral even than just giving a heart. I'm giving you my guts. Yeah? So who is the Knight of Cups? Well, this is the Knight of creativity. This is, and remember, that we have three major areas of our central nervous system, our brains. We have three brains, you could say. The one that is most people acknowledge is the one up here in the cranium, right? The skull, up the head. But there's also a brain in the heart. There are a lot of nerve cells and nerves that connect to and are processing nerves that happen here in the heart space. And the third one, which may be even bigger than the heart, but maybe not as big as the brain, is the one that goes down into the guts, into the intestines, through the vagus nerve, right? That travels down into there. And there's a lot of processing that happens down there in the guts. So there's that idea of our creativity might rise up from our root chakra. And where is our viscera? When we think of chakra, it's in that sacral chakra, right? Our sacral chakra is where the guts are, place for our creativity. So the Knight of Cups is the Knight of creativity. It's romance and charm. Imagination and beauty are here. But not the Page of Cups who is like, oh, what is this? What is possible? What is my intuition? Oh, I feel something coming from my intuition. What is that? The Knight is out there and going out there and doing it, right? Finding romance, in singing the ballads of the troubadour, being poetic, being charming, being affable, equanimous. Yeah, beautiful. Riding after beauty. That is our challenge. In these troubling times, the challenge is for us to be actively loving and giving of love and romantic and creative and charming and affable and riding towards and for and with and to beauty. That's the challenge, right? And then we've got the Knight of Wands. This is the advice. Whereas the situation is the king, the advice is the knight. And what do you see the knight doing? Whereas the king already, it's about having that fire in the belly and being the leader. What do we see here? And the king has the smoke coming out of his mouth, right? The knight is the one who joins those two, right? We see the guts of the knight down here, which came from this knight. But this knight is also deliberately taking that wand and shoving it down into his own mouth, right? So this is the knight that does the work of actually taking that match, that huge match or that fiery wand, and eats it, right? Ignites the belly, which will eventually become the king. Does that make sense? So we want to actively make ourselves light our guts on fire so that, and then eventually we can mature into the king. The Knight of Wands, he is the card of energy and passion and inspired action. But you can see in this card, we are the ones who ignite that within ourselves. That's the advice, to ignite that Knight of Wandsness within ourselves. Following our impulses, being adventurous, being careful of being impetuous. We don't want to do this like on a whim. We want to be clear. But if we have the impulse to act, we want to follow that impulse. If we discern that that is a true impulse and not a reactive impulse of aggression and fighting and an impulse that will close us off from the power of intention. Because remember, we're always asking, how can we live our lives more intentionally? And living life intentionally is not one of aggression and fighting, because that stance restricts our ability to receive the powerful current of intention. So to receive this power, to make use of the power, to ride the current of the power. We want to be open. We want our sails to be open, our arms to be open, our hearts to be open. And an open heart is not in this position, right? Of defensiveness, of impulsive. I have the impulse to hit you. Yeah, that's not an impulse that comes from the power of intention. An impulse that comes from the power of intention is to open, to send love, to express joy, to be passionate, to be inspired to act on behalf of, not against other people, and on behalf of ourselves, not against ourselves either. Yeah? But to do that, the advice is that this needs to be a deliberate act, I believe. We can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. We want to inspire ourselves. We want to eat that fire so that our guts become ablaze and we can take on the challenge of moving towards our Knight of Cups within. Does that make sense? So this spread does not seem to be the central message of the problem that the Lenormand spread seemed to be pointing towards. This is the central message of, so how do we navigate that? How do we take on the burden of virtue and live intentionally? And so I think that's what these three cards are pointing towards. We start off, we assume our leadership, our nobility, our truthful hearts, and we want to move into our romantic, creative, loving, imaginative, follower of beauty self. And we do that by igniting our own passion within, our own energy, igniting that which will give us the inspiration and the impulses to follow the adventure, to take the adventure of life. Yeah? Okay, so we've got three oracle cards to look at below these three tarot cards. So, I'll show you those three cards right now, and let's read those together. Okay, friends, here are the oracle cards once more. Friends, I think I've fallen in love with this oracle deck. And I think I'm going to be using this oracle deck in several different ways. But what do you think? What do you think of these cards? Let me know in the comments below. There will be a link in the description box below to the... this is what the backs of the deck look like. The backs of the cards. There'll be a link in the description box below to the Etsy shop of the creator of this deck. This is an independently created deck, and I've got a couple of oracle decks of hers. But I really like this one. I really like this one a lot. And, I didn't mention it, but the Hayworth Tarot is also independently produced, and there will be a link in the description box below for that one as well. Just saying. Okay, so what you saw from left to right were, I'll give you the title for the card, not the message, yeah? The title for the first card is You Are Strong. The title for the second card is Earth Angel. And the title for the third card is Gift of Intuition. So, Strength, Angel, and Intuition. And those really do seem to echo the tarot cards above, I think. So what do we have here? So this card came up upright. And so the message for this card, which is You Are Strong, is you can face a challenge, right? And from the guidebook it says, have the strength within to move in a new direction, face something difficult. May mean leaving a relationship, but I don't think that's what it's talking about here. Take a risk. And so that is coming beneath the King of Wands, right? Now this card came beneath the King of Wands. So in order for us to be our natural born leaders, to be noble, virtuous, honest, it means that we have to face the challenge of life. We want to have the strength within. And we might want to move in a new direction. Remember, we're following the challenge of the Knight of Cups, right? So that we might include taking a risk as the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is not necessarily a risk taker. That's more the Knight of Wands. So we're adding that needing to not the requirement, not the need to, but the possibility that we are going to face something challenging, something difficult, and that we might want to take a risk now. That is the central message of this spread, right? This is the significant answer to what is the central message of the Lenormand spread, is that we want to become the King of Wands. Remember, virtue, honesty, leadership, grand visions, who is able to take risks, who is able to face something difficult. And we are moving through difficult times right now. Yeah? We want to face the challenge as the king. Now the challenge, remember, now the challenge that is talking about is not this challenge. The challenge that we're talking about is the challenge of the Lenormand spread, which was a difficult situation, which might be coming from, again, the environment, the political, social, economic environment that we're living in, right? And so now our personal challenge as the King of Wands was the Knight of Cups, right? And below that we have Angel in Human Form, right? That is this card came upright, and Angel in Human Form is the message. Which is what? From the guidebook, it says, maybe someone in our life is an angel in human form, maybe. Or we are being prompted to see ourselves as angelic at our core. And I think it's both of these. Because remember, in that spread, the Lenormand spread, whichever way you want to think of as the Lenormand spread residing in that Lenormand spread, we were called to recognize that we will benefit from accepting the powerful friendship of those around us, as well as being the friends to others. So as we move into the challenge of being the Knight of Cups, we want to move into the challenge of the Knight of Cups, recognizing that we are looking for angels in human form as we are embodying our inner angelic selves at our core. Does that make sense? So we're riding out as the knight who is discovering their inner angelic nature, looking for earth angels. To romance, to love, to charm, to work with creatively, to find the beauty of the people that's it, to find the beauty of the people that are out there in the world. And maybe those beautiful people are going to come in unattractive forms at first. But we want to see the beauty in each one if that's the challenge, to see the beauty in each one of them as well. Be the angel, find the angel within. Find the angel within. That might be the title of this video. Find the angel within. Maybe. There needs to be more nuance to that. But okay, but that's the challenge, right? As the Knight of Cups moving out, discovering or embodying their inner angel and finding the angels out there. Being affable, being equanimous, being creative, romantic, charming. imaginative, being beautiful, and finding the beauty in the world. Yeah? So, the next thing, the advice, under the advice card was this one, right? Gift of intuition, but it came up in this direction. So the message on top is pay attention to dreams. What is that telling us? Well, according to the guidebook, it says our dreams are speaking to us. It's time to pay attention and maybe write them down. So, maybe. Now remember, that's coming beneath this card, the Knight of Wands. So, in order to do that, in order to ignite the fire within, maybe some of that we might be assisted by our dreams. We might get some, kindling for the fire within from our dreams. So, we want to pay attention to our dreams. We might want to write them down. Yes? And explore those things to see what energy we can extract from them, what inspired action might come from them. Whether they can ignite the fire within. If we eat the symbols of our dreams, maybe that will inspire us to move in the directions of being our inner King of Wands, moving towards the Knight of Cups, Yeah? I think this is really cool. Now, this deck is interesting in another way. There's another way to read these cards. Because remember, these cards are what? They're butted up against each other. And so we can also read this deck in in adjacent meanings. What do I mean? So let's start off with the first two. The first two cards came upright. So when these two are with each other, I don't know if you can see that, where they meet, we have on this side, tap into your strengths, and on this side, divine messenger. Tap into your strengths and divine messenger. They meet. So we can get a message from that meeting point, right? Which is what? We want to tap into our strengths to bring goals to fruition. And communicate with others with wisdom, compassion, and kindness. Now, as we embody our King of Wands, we want to tap into our strength. Remember the bear from the Lenormand Spread. We want to tap into our strength, to bring our goal into fruition, which is to live upright, noble, passionate lives that are inspired and energetic and passionate, right? So, how do we do that? First, we tap into our strength to bring that goal to fruition and communicate with others. We want to be romantic, we want to be affable, and we want to communicate with wisdom. Kings are supposed to be wise, right? Compassionate and kind. Remember, the Knight of Cups, compassion and kindness is part of that as well. And then we have two other messages that are butting up against each other, right? This is the angel card upright, and then this one was pointed in this direction. So the two messages here and here are pure at heart and use your intuition. Pure at heart and use your intuition. Pure of heart, Knight of Cups. Remember, the purity of heart was also mentioned in the Lenormand Spread through the lily. So what are those two messages combined? What are they telling us? Well, we want to access our inner sensitive, honest, and genuine selves, that genuine part of ourselves. We want to access that. And when we are innocent and pure of heart, we can help others. We don't want to help others from our conniving, calculating selves, or from our selves of trying to get something from somebody else, or from the selves of dominating by caring. Some people do that, right? They express their power over you by being caring and nurturing of you so that they can be the boss, right? No. We want to do that work of compassion from the place of innocence, of naivete, of honesty and sensitivity when we want to help others. And we can use our intuition to know the truth of what they are experiencing, or what we are experiencing, or where we are. We can use our intuition, and we can trust that intuitive perceptions are accurate right now, if we are coming from a place of purity and honesty and innocence. And remember, that's not the innocence of innocence versus guilty, it's the innocence of the child. Right? Our innate innocence. We are all innately innocent. And again, not the innocence of innocent versus guilty, but innocence of purity. And so, if we can inhabit that innocence and that honesty and that sensitivity, the intuitive information that we receive is trustworthy and will help us to help others as well as ourselves and know the truth. And remember, that's part of the dream work that we might want to be doing as well. Does that make sense to you? Do you see how this message helps us to traverse the challenge, the difficult challenge of the Lenormand Spread that we read earlier this week? I think it's really a beneficial adjunct to the situation described by the Lenormand Spread. Do you agree? If you agree, let me know in the comments below. If you disagree, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear what you think about this Oracle deck too. Do you have it? Are you going to get it? It's great. It's wonderful. I like round decks. And I think this deck will be a wonderful training deck if you ever want to use other kinds of round decks, because it really does help point towards how one card, Gift of Intuition, can be read in varying ways depending on how it's pointing. So then if you really get that sense of, so this is where that message is just not accurate, but is simple, the upright meaning, right? Or where we're trying too hard to do it one way, or we want to try harder to do it, or maybe we're resisting our power in doing it, depending on which way that card is facing. This card, I think, this deck would be a really good training deck for reading round cards, if that makes sense. And I really enjoy reading round cards now, since I've done some work on that in the past. And I think this is a good training wheels deck for doing that. So, another reason to get the deck. Okay? Because there are some beautiful, beautiful round tarot decks out there. Mother Earth, the Gorgon Tarot, are just two examples that come to my mind. There are a couple of others. So highly recommend them. Okay, so friends, thank you. Thank you very much. And in just a moment, my, what's it called? My QR code and my web address for my online tarot reading shop will appear. If you want to order a reading and you want to specify a deck like, please read with Mother Earth, or please read with the Gorgon Tarot, you can do that. You can order a reading with a specific deck if you want. And if I've got it, like I've got those two, I'll use those decks to read for you. Okay, friends? Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, As always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.